against that. And with the Maokai ban, I think CFO have done a good job of banning away a lot of what KC was targeting in this second game. The Varus priority. So this time around, they've said, you know what? For too long, our bot lane have been conceding pressure. We want the bot lane 2 versus 2 push. So we're going to lock in the Varus, and it is a great champion for getting you that push. They could also early rotate their bottom lane as well. Maybe they want to go for something like the Nautilus, but Braum could be a problematic champion depending on where they choose to lock it in. CFO have a lot of options here. They could grab the Sejuani for themselves. Ginger is more of the carry style player. So I'm curious as to what direction he will go. We've seen him play things like the Pantheon before. We know that he's, I mean, with Vi gone, I'm curious as to what direction he will actually go here in this draft.
Quite a few options. It feels like Doggo's just picking his most played champions, sort of going down the line. Very comfortable on the Misfortune. You need to get outranged a little bit there in the bottom lane, but
Sedge.
Yeah, I think if the concept isn't broke, don't fix it, right? Put Junjia on one of these playmaking tanks and see what can happen. Of course, Yike no stranger to trying to take down a couple of Sejuani. So we'll see what he does have planned for this.
Jarvan is what I wouldn't mind seeing.
Really? It's been a while since I've seen
It's not going to be Jarvan.
You'd hope not. I haven't seen a Jarvan-Yone combo work out all that well in recent memory, but just haven't seen much J4, to be honest.
I'm assuming it's for Vladdy, but that is a surprise. So what if I mean, they banned Lilia and Zyra. Are they thinking Nidalee? Is this a Yike Nidalee game?
I mean, it works, kinda, with what they have so far. Chains of Corruption is some setup. Jace is another one. But this is so dangerous, because how do you then play an AP jungle if they then get 2 more bans and you've already banned 2 of them?
Might be an Ivern game.
Oh.
It might be an Ivern game, you know. The question is, will CFO read that? We'll have to wait and see. Now, you have a lot of options here, CFO, because, like, you've seen... Now, the advantage KC have is whether they answer with mid or top here, assuming they do. You can, so they're going to answer with top. So now you can just ban out mid laners, right? Things like Orion.
Yeah.
And that Braum ban, by the way, like, Nautilus. That is the pick right now. The question is, will CFO look to try and take that one away? And if they do, what does KC then use as an answer? Do they just go for the Rel themselves? Is CFO thinking about getting the Rel?
And also, counterpick for support is really powerful. Kaiwing can just sort of pick for lane once they see exactly what KC are doing. Wouldn't mind a mid lane pick here, but also just taking away Nautilus, that would work as well. Timer is up, and it's Talia.
I think that's good. I like it. Very safe, very stable. Pretty good matchup into the Yone, just because you can create a lot of space between you and the Yone. Yeah, rocks, simply. I mean, what is man's greatest weakness? A heavy projectile.
Indeed, indeed.
So, yeah, I think it's... I mean, as well, look at this Wombo combo they've got built for themselves. It's not like crazy Wombo, but they've got Engage, Initiation with the Sejuani. They've got good follow-up with the Scion.
Oh, there it is.
Old school. Yike. I'm disappointed in myself. I should have known this. I should have known this. What am I saying? Back on the G2 days, this was one of his favorites, his go-to classics. When it comes to comfort, this is definitely something that that Yike would default to. Definitely not something we've seen this year, really.
And also, there's a limited amount of hit points collectively for the team right now. Targamas is going to take that Nautilus that you were talking about before. That is going to provide a bit of front line, but once again, I feel like this is a difficult composition to execute here for KC.
It's got damage.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And if you start winning, you're going to keep winning.
You will definitely keep winning. That is 100% true. I'm really curious, what will the... I'm expecting Rel. I think that they just want something to round out their team fight, have a little bit more engage in there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they... Okay, yeah, so they're going to keep it stock standard. All right, so again, CFO, their approach is front-to-back team fight. They've got a lot of AoE, a lot of zone control. The great thing about this composition as well is that even if KC is on the objective...
Here for KC. Kill Doggo, probably do pretty well, is kind of the theory. But let's jump onto the Rift and see how it's going to go as KC look to try and bring us to a Game 3.
30 seconds until minions.
As CFO, game number 1 was gorgeous. I think that they just played better League of Legends on top of the fact that they had a great draft.
Yep.
And we'll just have to see whether now, as the drafts kind of even themselves out, Are we going to get a better performance out of KC as well?
Here's what I will say. You know, like, naturally, as an EU pundit, my instincts are KC, simplify. You know, go for a draft that seems easy on paper to execute and rely on the fact that you can believe in yourself to be a better team than your opposition.
And see hero, kill hero is an EU quote.
Well, KC literally gave me the middle finger and said, we refuse to go simple. We're going to go 4 damage dealers with a Nautilus as our
raw amount of damage that they have. The fact that Brand will be able to eat through tanks so effectively once that Leandris comes in. This will be a composition that can sort of
ooh, look at this.
Pass the test of time as Junji coming actually over the wall from the Dragon. That's a great engage from Kaiwing as Targamas completely off to the side. And now Kalist trying to play some alcove gaming, and unfortunately it is not where he wants to be. Doggo with first blood for the second game in a row.
Just really great pathing from Junja. The fact that he skips his whole bot side camps, he goes over the wall behind their opposition and just prevents any avenue of escape. Just extremely well executed, and they alleviate so much of that pressure on the bot side of the map. Really well played from CFO.
Beautifully done. So it looks like we have just picked up from where we left off, but now Yike trying to buck that trend. Pillar of Flame coming on through there, but unfortunately the Seer is going to land on.
Yeah, she used to just, like, I guess spit at you.
Yeah.
Just a
or
thorn.
skewer you.
Skewer is a great
more like
word.
A javelin.
Harpoon,
yes.
even.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was true damage, and it did hurt.
And on release, it did about a bajillion damage. And so if you were the kind of player that would want to go into the middle of a team fight, press all of your buttons and die, she was the best champion ever, which is why I loved her. She was brilliant. We're talking about the champion that's not in the game, though. She was at least banned throughout both of these. We might get her in a game 3 if we make it there. KC looking to try and deliver us
an
towards
objective
it.
already, a positive. In comparison to game 1.
Precisely. And 3 Void Grubs is absolutely fantastic as well, meaning that you don't even necessarily need to fight for the next round if you don't feel like it. And they can put their focus towards the Dragon that hasn't been taken just yet. As Kaiwing going to go for another engage. There's the Glacial Prison. Targamas going to have to flash. Does get the anchor out as Doggo picks it up with a double up. That is gorgeous. Kalist going to be able to walk out of the way of the bullet time, though, so Doggo not going to be getting a double. But that is exactly what CFO want. It is more money on misfortune.
I mean, it's Junja's world and we're just living in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The man gets level 6. He immediately sets his sight.
Nailed it. He is now going to spot out Yike and Targamas moving towards this Dragon. Banana Brush control going to be there for KC. And that was a train.
That was.
Driver is he worried yet? I would be.
He popped a pop and he stopped taking damage. He's fine.
Yeah, I guess he isn't. He's also got a Biscuit, which is just...
Ooh, that is good damage onto Kaiwing. The pings to retreat coming through from CFO as Vladdy is a bit behind. He is close to level 9, though. Here we go.
Yeah, Winter's Wrath.
You can't contest this, Ginger. I don't think you can contest this.
Well, he is walking around, somewhat in range, actually, but it's going to be Yike that wins the Smite War. Hook going to connect, but Targamas is sort of just 1v1ing against Doggo. Junja right in amongst it now. It's Vladdy trying to get out of there. The flash forward from Junja is crazy, and Targamas finds himself caught out. That's a killing spree for Doggo, as Kana is towards this top side, getting something back for KC. As the flash forward from Honkyu, this young man going nuts against Yike, who's taken so much damage. The threaded volley will finish him off. And Honkyu says, yeah, we have a monopoly on kills this game.
4 kills to 0, and Kaiwing has set his sights onto Kalist. I think he wisely will back away. But the target focus from KC continues to just be off. And make the play happen. He has the support from Driver, and we're back into the action.
We are right back into it as the Grubs now going to be the focus here. KC already with 3 under their belt, as Driver going to get booped back here by Kana. Should be 4 of them locked down here, as Yike should be able to collect them. There we go. That is grub number 1. CFO still haven't pulled the trigger just yet, though. Doggo securing 1 of them, so it's maximum 5. And that is going to be what happens. Chains of Corruption come through, but Kaiwing turns it into engage as Driver gets a phenomenal crash, does immediately go down, and it's a double here for Yike. Junja says, no, remember, we're the team that gets all of the kills, as Targamas going to be the first one to be taken down. He also looks for the next, as Kana's put in prison. But not going to quite be enough. The Winter's Wrath unable to catch him, and Doggo, I don't know whether you want to tank 3 turret shots, and so isn't going to go any further forward. Really good fight for KC.
CFO is still ruthless in these 5v5s. You can see how aggressive they're willing to play. And Doggo now with a 1k gold lead over Kalist. Trek Mind where they had to catch that target out, they had to kill him quickly. This time round, with a multi-damage threat in the front to back, sure, there is a scary front line that they have to deal with, but they have the damage in theory to deal with it.
Well, Weaver's Wall coming on through here is now Yike. He is cornered, and everything is about zoning. They knew that he was just dead to rights. And so CFO, they take down the jungler, and they now look for a dragon that should be going their way, unless these health bars are low enough to cause a bit of an issue, but it looks like that isn't the case. Vladdy there towards the top side, doing some split pushing, as Junja at about 50%, dueling this Chemtech Drake. Driver gonna move on over, is now Kalist! You're not going to be able to interrupt that ulti there as Junja gets over the wall, flashes back immediately as he realizes his mistake, and he will be ripped to shreds by that piercing arrow. CFO maybe bit off a little more they could chew that time around.
The dragon getting very low. Yike on his way back, but there's no smites here.
Yeah, they do just interrupt the queue as Driver was pretty optimistic, thinking that his Scion was going to be the deciding factor there. Honkyu going to be getting to work here on the top side of the map, though, as second dragon in a row here for KC is a big deal. And you can see the fans here at Lowell Park agree. This is what we're expecting. It was a bit quiet during game one, but thankfully,
As Kana sees an angle, and they're able to convert the fight in their favor. Ambitiously drive. Oh, back in the action.
Yeah, crash down there from Kaiwing. Going the wrong direction, though, as Kana might be the one that they're looking for. His health bar is relatively high, but unfortunately he can't move and he has no friends. That's Honkyu taking another kill for himself. 2-0-2 now for the Talia. And CFO with full control of this Herald pit. And the gold still in their favor as well.
CFO just feels like that they go from 2 members to 5 members so fast.
Yes, instantly.
Like, they're so quick at collapsing on any single opportunity that KC, like, it's been happening throughout this series. You can't afford to rest on your laurels. The moment that you're out of position, this team will punish you for it.
Well, Driver going to come on over and get rid of all of these minions. I don't know about that one. Trains off the tracks a little bit here as Vladdy going to get rid of this turret and now go for the 1v1 that may take 7 years, but I think he might have the damage eventually, unless Driver just gets towards the turret. Doesn't have the unstoppable onslaught, though, as he does get that knock-up. And Honkyu, he gets in there, looking for that threaded volley as Junju just sets it up for him. Man, what an alley-oop from the jungler. And this is exactly what you said. They just vacuumed all the players over.
Vladdy thought that he had a solo kill opportunity, but instead it was he who was punished. There was an idea for an engage there, but all of the team wasn't really on board, ready to collapse, and it ended up just falling apart. Whereas CFO, they feel like a singular unit, right? Like, they just feel like that the moment you make an initiation on one player, you're initiating onto all 5.
Yeah, and as soon as someone is crossing the river, the rest of CFO all know that that's happening and are ready to collapse. And that is happening right here, as we can see. 4 members, but there's also a Scion that can turn up at a moment's notice. Bliss giving a bit of a thumbs up here as Doggo wanting to crash this way forward once again. We're getting that zoom in. Here comes the train. Chains of Corruption are going to go wide as Kalist gets that flash to get over the wall. The Glacial Prison going wide there as well as CFO. Not going to find the engage they were looking for. And you can see Yike doing a lot of damage there to Honkyu as they do make their way out, but it's not really damage that's going to stick, right? Because CFO able to grab the turret.
Yeah. So the same can't be said for the AD carries, though.
Yeah, Doggo holding on to that lead. 5-0-2, though, for the MF. That will do it as far as giving you that lead. Honkyu just put his he just put his Leandries together, so he does a lot of damage, but they look for the Rel, who just says, I'm going to Magnet Storm you, and then even crashes down forward. It was a mistake because he dies, but it's going to be a win here for CFO. That is 3 on the bench for KC. And CFO might just move up towards this Ruinous Archon, grab themselves a bunch of extra levels and all of that fun stuff. And Driver will just try and hold them off.
I mean, that collapse was just so fast and so ruthless. Doggo.
It feels like every time. It's like, the collapse, and like, they're always there.
And Doggo just said, all right, bet. Like, he just threw down the ultimate and tore this opposition apart. That will be our first Ruinous Archon. Of course, not the first one of the tournament, but look at that, all that XP.
Right, and CFO, it's like they're a hive mind, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, maybe that's what we mean by Junjia team, right? It's just his brain is operating all 5 champions. But there's like an individual version of his brain for all of them that are somewhat connected but can work independently. It's not just great multitasking, it's just more of him.
And Driver, as he has pretty much done throughout this game, He does not care.
Oh, right. Nice little stun is going to come through, but another Magna Storm comes on down, and Doggo immediately flashing away from the ulti. Kalist not going to be connecting that one, and now they are moving forward. The double ups landing, and Doggo, he does so much damage. Honkyu looking for the seismic shove. Kana going to get that fat flash over the wall. That'll keep him alive. Make It Rain not doing too much there, so KC will be able to limp away, but that could just still mean Baron.
I mean, another failed attempt on the side of KC as CFO just continue to extend their lead. They were already in a commanding position, and this really well looked to put the final nail in the coffin. Yesterday, it was a 2-1 victory for TL, but CFO looking to make build advantages through their solo laners so they can look to start split pushing. Well, how does CFO respond? They just fight after fight with constant numbers advantage, and they swing even though they don't get all the early game objectives, they keep winning out on the fights. And now they find themselves securing the first tier 3 tower of the game. They've set their sights on the inhibitor. And what options do KC really have? Because if they try to go for the 5v5, I think that CFO's front to back is just stronger once again.
Yeah, this is the problem with falling behind against a composition that has 2 tanks, right? I mentioned the fact that there might be damage issues, but not anymore, right? These tanks are even doing more damage, and the problem is, if this style of composition gets ahead, it is so much harder to find that angle back in. That's why we often say that if you're a team that has a heck of a lot of damage, it's harder to execute, because you still have to be very careful.
Oh, yeah.
If you throw your life away, things can really become a problem. It's not really the case here. That's, I think, why you say that this is far more of a simple composition. It's not even necessarily that it's simple, it's that it's very forgiving. And he has a Mejai's Soul Stealer. I cannot wait to see more of this team as we get deeper into first stand, because I've heard some pretty big talk about Honkyu and what he has. Is now Kalist in trouble once again, and just picked off and destroyed. Another gorgeous shove there from Honkyu, the man we were just talking about, and I think he might have heard us. Says, oh, you mean me? Let me just grab another couple of kills. 4-0-6 now for the Taliyah. They'll take down the last remaining inner turret. They're going to look for another inhibitor. Baron or no Baron, they are going to break another section of this base, and KC just left scratching their heads at this point in the series. It's been a whirlwind, and CFO have just left them in the dust.
CFO have made it look easy. A convincing game, too, with very few windows of opportunity. They continue to punish. Just the fact that Junja's just such an effective driving force. He finds good angles to make plays happen. 1, 1, and 11, the scoreline for him.
And Vladdy going to be able to stop Doggo, but look at all of these engages as stopped. Vladdy does manage to get a decent ulti and gets himself out of there, but Yike could pay the price. The AoE is going to be there, but when there's no follow-up, it does not matter, and they trickle in one after the other, but CFO stay as a unit to defend their damage dealer. This might be a little bit of an overstep as Honkyu just goes golden, and Driver is going to do exactly as his name dictates. They take a blast cone. That is going to break up the fight a little bit. And a Weaver's Wall, speaking of breaking things up, actually might be able to create some space here. But CFO, I don't, like, the health bars are low, guys. I understand your confidence.
CFO was trying to go back to base. They were trying to show them a mercy. Kana, at the very least, will get a pick.
Yeah. Shock Blast is going to be able to lock down Honkyu. Going to die for the first time. Also gets rid of some pages in that book. Now, Junja, I don't know about that flash, as... yeah, the train is going to be able to tidy up some of them. Doggo with the bullet time gets flashed out of there by Targamas as once again over the wall goes Vladdy. And CFO, just go back home. Let's spend something like that. The Baron is probably going to be the one that goes away first, though. As you can see, not a whole lot of avenues in for this one. There's Kana, not going to be able to stop it. So the Purple Worm delivered towards CFO. And now one inhibitor lies between them and the enemy Nexus. As Targamas thinking about going for heroic engage. Junja able to get out of the way, the Chains of Corruption. That's some buttons on cooldown now. As the Glacial Prison, it'll ring true. Doggo has to cancel his ulti early, but these autos are doing so much. And Honkyu from over the wall finds another flick. Driver, I don't know about that one, but he gets a big old shield. Let's see whether he is going to go down. Does eventually go into that passive, but honestly, it works out just the way CFO wanted. And they're looking at a 2-0 in their debut match here at First Stand. What an incredible performance from this team.
Absolutely incredible. Convincing, coordinated, and well executed from start to finish. CFO looking strong in their first best of 3.
Yep, taking down the Nexus now as Targamas just looks to try and escape. And unfortunately, that is not going to escape the end of this game. Honkyu does the honors. The youngest player of the tournament will be able to grab that 50 gold for taking down the Nexus.